Hey folks, it's Dave back here in Studio B, and today I'm playing some hit and run baseball by Mike Selock, another quick play game. He's got some terrific quick play games here. This is a redo of the 1975 World Series between the Reds and the Red Sox. I did one the other day, and don't know why my microphone levels were really hot, and it didn't sound good at all, and I think I also made a couple of small mistakes. So now I'm just checking my audio level here, so I think I'm a little bit better this time. So apologies to that last video. It actually came out pretty well, except for the audio being terrible, and I think I might have made a couple of mistakes reading off the wrong card. I was trying to show how fast you could play. So today I'm going to slow it down and have some fun, show off Mike Selock hit and run baseball. So first things first, where you can find this game is over here at sportsreplays.net. Go to your downloads page, scroll down, and look for the Mike Selock Quick Play Games on downloads page 3. And scroll down, and he's got hockey, basketball, the 2-minute drill, which you've probably seen me play before. He's got college and NFL teams. And then finally down the bottom here, hit and run baseball. And we're playing the 75 season. So that's where you would find that. Now what you get is when you get it's all free, by the way, from that site. It's fantastic. So this is the Excel spreadsheet you get. You get the instructions on how to play the game, a little sample game, which you really need to read the instructions and set up the sample game. It was a little confusing at first for me to set up, and I'll explain why in a second. Then you got your National League teams and your American League teams from that year. And then what I did is on the score sheet is I colored in the teams, and I grabbed a screenshot of the Reds and the Red Sox and put it here so we could play this game all on one spreadsheet instead of bouncing back and forth. I got my dice roller here. You need a 20-sided die to play this game, so I will just roll it from the ball roller right here on the screen instead of setting up the dice tower. And down below here, this is my relief pitcher chart, okay? I needed to come up with something standard, okay? Because obviously, being a Red Sox fan, I want the Red Sox to win this. But at the same time, I don't want to cheat myself or cheat the game in any way. So what I've done here is the game says that you can bring in the relief pitcher anytime in usually the 7th or 8th inning or something like that. Well, what I did is I created this little chart here for both teams that I try to stick by. Whereas if a team is allowed 0 runs, I keep the starting pitcher in so we could get a complete game from the starting pitcher. And again, it's a team game, so there's no starting pitcher per se. There's no name players in this. It's just a team. If they've given up 1 or 2 runs, then when the 8th inning comes, that's when the relief pitcher comes in. 3 to 4 runs, we go in the 7th inning. And if 5 runs or better, then the 6th inning is when the relief pitcher comes in. And what happens is we will roll before the game to determine the offense, the starting pitcher rating, and the relief pitcher rating. Because sometimes your relief pitcher is better and sometimes it's worse. So I didn't want to cheat myself by saying, well, the starting pitcher is better for the Red Sox, so I'll keep it in even though they're getting killed. Because that's not really how it would go. So this way here, I have to stick by this chart, and that keeps me honest, so to speak. So as mentioned, the pregame rolls. Okay, let's take a look at the Cincinnati card right here, okay? So you got a home +2. What that means is if you're the home team, you add 2 to the number in parentheses. And the idea being, when you roll this dice down here, okay, if you can get this number or lower, then you will get a slight edge. So as you see, the offense will add 2 to every roll if I roll a 13 or less on the road or 15 or less at home. Starting pitching will be a -2 if I get 10 or less, 12 or less at home. And the relief pitching will be -2 with a 14 or less, but 16 or less at home if you follow that. And same for the Sox down here, okay? Now, their starting pitcher, the best you can get is -1, and the relief pitcher is -1. Otherwise, it stays at 0. And the only confusing thing is what I talked about before, is if you get instead of a +213 or a -210 like you see here on the Reds, if you get a 0 with a 7 in parentheses, that has some special rules on it, okay? You got to really look at the instructions on that, and that really only affects the home team. So if Cincinnati was a 0 with a 7 in parentheses, their offense would automatically just be 0. There's no up or down with that. So read the instructions on that. It's kind of funky, but that is for the home team only. The home team +2 would not come into effect, and you'd have to roll a 7 or less to get a bump up from there. It's kind of funky how they did that. It's a little different than some of these other things here, and I really had to read the instructions and follow the sample game a few times. I had to read it a few times to finally get what they were trying to say in that, but we don't have to worry about that in this game. As ID Jester's here at the ballpark early, as he's got a good seat for this game here. This is a redo from yesterday. Hopefully my audio sounds better. For some reason, my microphone level was really high yesterday on my software here, so I toned that down, and I think I made a couple mistakes, so hopefully today I will not. So we're going to start here. I'm going to go slow here today, hopefully not making any mistakes. So we're going to start with the Cincinnati offense. Okay, thank you. The audio sounds good. Thank you, man. And I got your email, by the way, on the D&D. I worked really late last night, so I haven't had a chance to respond to that, but I will get to that today when I get in the office. But I wanted to bang out this redo today to fix what I did yesterday. Okay, so the Cincinnati offense, as you see over here, so we do not factor in the +2 because they are away. So a 13 or less will bump them up to a +2 offense. So let's roll the dice. So no, it's an 18, so that is above 13. So the offense will be 0 for the Reds. Okay, I'm actually kind of a Reds fan myself. My grandmother used to live out by Cincinnati, as she called it, so I kind of was a Reds fan. But obviously a Red Sox fan too. So the Boston team now. So if we look at the Boston home, they're +2 because they're at home. So this 13 becomes a 15. Okay, so 15 or less, and Boston gets a +2 on the offense. So it's a 10. So Boston has a +2 offense. Hang on, so I got my coffee here. All right, sorry about that. Just waking up here on this morning. And, I think my old man went to Game 7 here in 75. I'm pretty sure him and a friend went to Game 7 in the 75 series, if I remember correctly. All right, so let's go to the starting pitcher now for the Reds. If they roll 10 or less, they will get a -2 starting pitcher rating. And it's a 7, so they will be -2. Now the Red Sox roll. It's a 14. Now, if you look, they have a 12, but because they're home, we add 2, so it's 14 or less, so they just squeak it in. So they will be a -1 starting pitching. And now relief pitching for the Reds is a 16. That is higher than 14, so the relief pitching not getting it done on this day. And now the Red Sox with a 1 is obviously well under the 12 +2. So the Sox relief pitching is a -1. So how does this all matter now? We go to our adjusted offense. So we look at the Reds offense, which is 0. Okay, against the starting pitching, it's -1, and against the relief pitching, it's -1. So their adjusted offense for both is -1. Okay, so every roll of theirs, we subtract 1, so they cannot get the 20 and the 20 to do double damage in this game. Okay, so that's what takes that out of play. The Red Sox are 2 offense, but against the starting pitching, it's -2, so that gives us, oh boy, what did that do? That should be a -1. Spreadsheets are kind of funky like that. Oh my gosh, I'll have to fix that. It worked yesterday. So let me just put in 1 minus. Will that work? No, that'll work. Okay. And let's see. I have not downloaded that game yet. I will. I got, like I said, I saw the email, but I haven't been able to do anything with that yet. But I will. Okay. So the Sox are 2 and -2, so that gives them a 0 against the starting pitcher, and the relief pitcher is a 0, so they actually will be a +2, okay, against the relief pitcher. So when the relief pitcher comes in for the Reds, the Sox actually add 2 to every roll. That's why I have this chart down over here in the corner below my camera here and below the ball roller, is because I don't want to cheat myself. Okay, I don't want to say, well, I like the Reds better, so I'm going to keep the starting pitcher in because he's better, even though he's getting racked. So over here, I have to keep myself honest with this chart. Okay, yeah, and I will do that free version of the game. All right, so let's get started here. So we're going to go. Now, there's no league adjustment because we're in the same league. Over here, see, it's a league +1. So if you were playing a different, either a different league or a different year, you might factor that in to some of the roles. And there's instructions on that as well. But there's no league adjustments because it's the same season. All right, so now that we know here, so Cincinnati's rolling a -1 the entire game. The Sox will be rolling 0 until the relief pitcher comes in, and then they will be rolling a +2. So it's the top of the first, and here we go. So the Reds are going to roll 13. So a 13 -1 is a 12. So if I go here, the Reds, that is a 0. Okay? So it's 0-0 after a half inning. The Sox are up, and they roll a 9 + 0, so that is 0 as well. So now let's go to the second. A 9 is not on the chart. You need at least an 11 to get on the chart, and right now, even an 11 and a 12 doesn't get anybody any runs, so you can kind of fly through this if you keep that in mind. A 2 is 0 runs. Now we go to the third. An 11 -1 is 10. That's going to be 0. The Red Sox in the bottom of the third. A 20. Okay, so now on a 20, we go to the bottom of the third. 20 is 3. We roll again. If we get another 20, the Sox get 5 runs. Okay? That's how this chart works here, because this is the most they've scored in an inning that season. So you got to roll back-to-back 20s. If we roll something besides a 20, we ignore it, and we stay here on the 3 runs. However, we would add the adjusted offense. Right now, that's a 0. Okay, so that 3 stays a 3. Later on against a relief pitcher, that would become 5 because we would add the 2 up here if you follow that. So right now they get 3 runs. If another 20 comes up, they get 5. No. So they get 3 runs here in the bottom of the third. So we go to the top of the fourth now here in Game 1 in Boston. And I actually changed this over here as well. I put the auto sum here so we can kind of follow along with the actual score. So it says final, but it's actually just a current score. So it's 3-0 Sox here, top of the fourth. And the Reds roll a 14 -1. So that's a 13 in the fourth. And a 13 is 0 runs. So the Red Sox pitching is getting it done. Bottom of the fourth is a 9. That would be a 0. Top of the fifth now. A 17 -1, 16. That should be a run. So, yep. So we go the Reds here in the 5th inning. A 17 -1 is 16. That is good for a run. So the Reds are on the board. It's 3-1. A 10 is not going to do it. So we're in the 6th here right now. So I look at my chart, and nobody's given up more than 5 runs, so the starting pitcher stays in. Oh boy, a 20. That would be great for the Reds, except their offense is a 0, playing a -1 starting pitcher, so they have to subtract 1. Okay? So this 20 now becomes a 19 here in the 6th. That's still good for a couple of runs, but that's where the pregame rolls really affect the game here. So it's 2 runs here, so they've tied the game here in the 6th. So I think I had a 0 here in the 5th. Did I miss the 5th inning for the Sox? I think that was a 0. I didn't put that in. All right, so now we're in the 6th inning here. Hopefully I didn't mess up again. I still got my coffee going on here. So let's take a roll now. The bottom of the 6th for the Sox. Yes, they had 0. That's what I thought. Thanks. It's kind of confusing doing inning by inning sometime and then explaining it. Anyway. All right, so bottom of the 6th right now for the Sox, it's a tie game. A 4 is nothing. Okay, so now we're in the 7th. So now this is where the 3 to 4 runs come in. Okay, so both teams have given up 3 runs. So in the 7th, we now bring in the relief pitcher. Okay, that's how I have my chart. So it ain't going to change for the Reds. okay, because the Sox starting pitcher and relief pitcher are the same, so they're going to still roll a -1. However, the relief pitcher for the Reds is not that good, or at least not as good as the starting pitcher, so the Sox will be adding 2 to every roll, including the bonus 20 here. So, top of the 7th, 4 is 0 runs, and the Sox adding 2 now. 8 and 10 is still not going to get us. So now we're in the 8th inning. A 17 -1 is 16 for the Reds. Good for a run. So the Reds in the 8th have taken the lead after falling behind 3-0. The Sox with +2 here in the 8th at the 20. The 20 in the 8th is good for 4 runs. It won't really matter. Actually, I could roll again for a fun's sake. But so they got the 4 runs here in the 8th. We add 2 because of the adjusted offense. So the adjusted offense comes into play twice, on the roll and on a 20, if I'm reading the instructions correctly. So that's 6 runs. 4 plus the 2, 6 runs, and that should do it. I don't think the Reds come up with 6 runs anywhere in the night. Oh, they'd have to roll a double 20, and they can't because of the minus. So, yeah, the Sox are going to win this game here. A 12 in the 9th is 0. And that'll do it in game 1. The Sox take this one 9-4. So let's go to game 2. And we're going to roll now for the Reds offense. Again, 13 or less. So it's a 9. So this time they get the +2 on the offense. And that comes really into play. As you can see, you don't want any minuses if you're on offense. So now the Red Sox roll. And so it's 13 plus 2 is 15, so they get the +2 offense as well. For some reason, it's not letting me put in the minuses. Not liking that. Let's see. The pluses rather. All right, so starting pitching now for the Reds. So a 12 is above 10. So the starting pitching is a 0. Starting pitching for the Red Sox. A 17. So 2 and 12 is 14, so there's 0 as well. So right now it's even Steven. Relief pitcher for the Reds is a -2. And the relief pitcher for the Sox will be a -1. So how does this look now? So for the Reds, against the starting pitcher, they will be 2. And against the relief pitcher, they will be +1. The Red Sox, against the starting pitcher, will be 2. And against the relief pitcher, they will be 0. Okay, because the relief pitcher has a -2. So the Reds will have the advantage later on in the game. Okay. Yeah, if I go to the instructions here, let me see. I'll go to the sample game. Okay, it says it in the sample game here on the 20 roll. If you roll a 20 and you roll a 20 again, you use the gray area. Don't use the offensive adjustment. So just use the gray area. If the second is not a 20, do use the offensive adjustment and apply the score. So the Phillies score 3 instead of 2. Okay, because the Phillies have the offensive rating of 1. Okay, so you can see right here, they roll a 20, score 3 runs, 2 plus the 1 offensive rating. Okay, is how that works. Let me see. Oh, that might actually be the actual offensive rating, not the adjusted offensive rating. I think you might be right on that. Like I say, the instructions here, I've read them 10 times, and each time I come out with a different conclusion. So it doesn't make it clear if it's offensive rating only or adjusted offense. So you might be right on that. But in either case, back here with the Red Sox, I added the 2 because my offense is 2, okay? So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the straight offense before the adjusted offense for the 20. It could be that. I've been using the adjusted offense on a roll of 20. I've been adding that, but even if that was the case here, it was still a +2 at the time. Although, no, you're right there. In the 8th, that would have been right. So, anyway, I've been using the adjusted offense because they're hitting against the pitcher here, so that's what I've been using. So I'm just going to continue to use the adjusted offense myself. Just that's how I started it. All right, so let's kick things off. The Reds will be adding 2 to every roll here in top of the first. So a 12 is a 14. No, that is no runs here in the top of the first. The Sox now in the bottom of the first. They roll a 2, which is definitely nothing. The Reds adding 2 to 5 is 7, is nothing. You know, I wish I could get an email for this guy to get him on the podcast, because his games are really, really fun. And yeah, and there's a couple questions I have to ask him about this game for sure. So the Sox in the bottom of the second. Ooh, a 3 is nothing. We're still adding 2 to these rolls. And now we got a 15 here in the third. So a 15 in the third for the Reds is still nothing. Bottom of the third. Here in this World Series game, 20. All right. So now, the Red Sox in the third get 3 runs. Now, again, whether I tack on my standard offensive adjustment of 2 or my adjusted offensive 2, it's kind of the same. So they're going to get 5 runs regardless. Even if I roll another 20 to get me the 5, it's still kind of the same here. So that's going to be 5 runs for the Sox in the bottom of the third. Bottom of the third, 20 is 3 plus the 2. And again, whatever column I go to here, it wouldn't matter. So for the sake of this run through, I'm going to use the adjusted offense. If I get clarification, maybe that would be the regular offense instead of the adjusted. So that's a good point on that, about maybe trying to find out exactly which box to use. Top of the fourth for the Reds, a 17. So 4th and 17 on the Reds gets a run across. So the Reds get a run here in the 4th. Bottom of the 4th for the Sox. No, they get nothing. Okay, 5th inning, 14 and 2. 5th inning, 14 and 2 is 16. So they scratch across another run, and it's now 5-2. The Sox bats have been quiet. They get runs in bunches, and that's about it. So in the 6th, so the Reds have given up 5 runs or more. So the 6th inning, the Reds' relief pitcher comes in. The Red Sox have given up 2 runs, so it's still their starting pitching. So that actually benefits the Reds, and that's why I have this chart here. Okay, so the Reds are still adding 2 to the roll. So in the 6th inning, that's a 13 at 0 runs. So now the Red Sox are fighting the relief pitcher for the Reds. So their roll of +2 now goes down to 0. So they're just rolling a straight roll now. And it's a 20. Go figure. So the Red Sox in the 6th roll a 20. So that is 4. Now again, this is where the offense would be tacking on 2 if I went to the standard offensive roll, and it's 0 against the adjusted offense. I've been playing adjusted offense, so that's what I need to be consistent with, even though the Red Sox just rolled a 20 here in the 6th. So they got 4 and 13. So they're going to get 4 runs. And again, if I get some clarification on that, it may be that they would have 6 runs here. But I'm going to run off the adjusted offense because that's what I've been running for all of my replays of this game here. So now the Reds in the 7th are still going after the starting pitchers. They're still adding 2. So a 12. So 14 in the 7th is no runs for the Reds. Sox are rolling a straight roll here of 16 in the 7th, and 16 in the 7th is good for 1 run. So we go to the 8th. So in the 8th now, 1 to 2 runs, so we do bring in the relief pitcher, so now the Reds are only adding 1 to their roll. And a 15 in the 8th is good for 1 run. The Sox in the bottom of the 8th, another 20. Wow. So that's going to be 4 runs for the Sox, and they should take this one here, and they do. Wow, look at that. 14-3 here in Game 2. So in my other playthrough, they actually went 7 innings. Yeah, the Sox got 1 roll of 20 in my last playthrough. The Reds won in Game 7 of my last playthrough. It was kind of exciting. The Sox won Game 6 as they did in real life, and then the Reds took Game 7 as they did in real life. So we had a good series. I think the team split Games 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is how it went. But right now the Sox have taken Games 1 and 2. Let me put a little green box here to see who won the game. Okay, so the Sox have won games 1 and 2. So now let's go to Cincinnati. So let's take a look at the Boston offense. So on the road, we don't add the 2 points. It's a straight 13 or less to get them the 2. So let's see what they get. It's a 1. So the Boston offense will be +2 for this day. The Reds, a 17. Now the Reds are at home, so that 13 plus 2 is 15, but the 17 is higher, so there's no bonus for the Reds offense. Red Sox starting pitching is a 1, so they will be -1. Now the Reds starting pitching is a 12, so 10 plus the 2 for being at home gets them to 12, so that gets them to -2. So they just get under the radar. Relief pitching for the Sox is 12 or less for -1, and they get it. And the Reds relief pitching is a 19. They needed 16 or less. That's how good the relief pitching was. And they roll a 19, so they will stay 0. So let's take a look at our adjusted offenses now. So the Sox against the starting pitching will be 0. And against the relief pitcher, they will be +2. The Reds will be -1 the entire way. And I think I got to do 1 minus to get that to work into my box there. So that's what it looks like here if I did that correctly. So the Sox is 0 and then +2, and the Reds are 1 minus the entire way. So the Sox have the advantage here, and that's what I like about this game here and games like this, even shootout hockey, which I really like a lot. There's a couple of rolls before the game that can slightly sway the offense and slightly sway the defense. So you got 6 variables here. You got 3 variables for each team during the game. And so not every matchup is going to be exactly the same, okay? Now, it's not infinite variables, okay? You only got, 3 for each team, but I don't know how, if you did the math, if you did 3 variables for each team, how many different, combinations that would be. But so you do get some variation with that, and I like how we did that in this game, is that not every single matchup is going to be exactly the same against these 2 teams because of these variables. Now, eventually, if you played enough games, you would see some repeat, and some would be the same, but at least there's some variation. I do like that. Okay, so the Sox up in the top of the first inning. Their straight-up roll of 0, and a 10 is good for 0 runs. And the Reds now at home, their first ups, as they say. They roll a 3, so that is nothing. The Sox with a 3, and that is nothing. I like that there. So you roll exactly the number, and it could be, well, some of the teams, let me just roll the bottom of the inning here so I don't get confused. So a 10 and 0 is nothing. So if I go to the American League here, let me just take a little side dish here and show you this. Some of the teams, like I say, are a +1, -2, -1. See, some of the teams are not +2. They're only the -1. So if you had a +1 here and you rolled 11, what would you do? Because you're either going to be 0 or +1 here for the Yankees. And this is that 0 to 7 I told you about. This, you're going to have to read the instructions if you get 0 to 7. That is a whole set of rules all by itself that I was very, very confused with the 0-7. I think I got it sorted out, but that's something that it's very different than all the other rolls here. I think that you can go up 1 only or down 1 only, depending if you're offense, if you're relief pitching on that, and it's a straight 7 or less. So, but hey, it's Al's in the chat. Al, this is just a redo from yesterday. My microphone was really hot and distorted yesterday. Excuse me, I think I made a couple mistakes as well, so I'm trying to correct those mistakes and get better audio and kind of show off this game and give it the video it deserves, because it's a really good, fun game, and I didn't want to have a yucky video for it. So the Sox are up 2-0 in the series. They took game 1 9-4, and then game 2 14-3, so they won both games. at home. And in the chat room, it says, if you roll exactly the number, it's always a -1 no matter what the stat is. That's interesting. So I guess that wouldn't really come into effect if it was a -1 anyway, so you really wouldn't gain or lose anything. So that's interesting. So top of the third now, it's the Red Sox up to bat. A 1 is going to be nothing. And now the Cincinnati Reds, they have a -1 on their roll, so it's a 7 -1 is a 6, and that is 0. And yeah, no, it does give it more variation to it. Adds just a little bit more to it as well. And I do like that. And I suppose you could really kind of play with it. Say, if you said, hey, if you hit the number exact, maybe you could go up even higher. So if it was a +2 and you rolled that 13, maybe you go to +3, or maybe if you roll a 1, you go to +13. So there's a couple of things you could really tweak in this game as well. Yeah, I agree. Although I got to say, if you started adding 3 or subtracting 3 from numbers, I think it would really sway things here. Top of the fourth, no score here in Cincinnati, game 3. The Sox roll a 2, and that is good for nothing. A 3, a lot of low numbers coming out here in Cincinnati. It's a pitcher's duel, and finally, I think we got some runs. So in the fifth, 16, and 0 is 16. So we go to the Red Sox in the fifth. And the 16 is good for a run. So yeah, so they smack one up the middle, and they get a guy home. So the Sox lead here on the road 1-0. Bottom of the fifth, it's an 18 -1 is 17. So we go to the Reds. Fifth inning, 18 -1 is 17. That is good for 2 runs. So in the bottom of the fifth, they take the lead. And okay, and Jester says he likes the idea of adding and modifying either on the 1 or the roll exactly on the button. Yeah, so there's some play you could come in with that. Again, I created my down over here my relief pitcher, my starting pitcher chart. That's just something I created on my own just to be consistent. So I suppose you could absolutely do that. You could say, look, if you roll a 1, or if you roll that number exact, you get an extra bonus on that or something like that. Maybe if you do that, the first inning you get a bonus, of the 9th inning or the entire game. Yeah, so you could definitely play around with that, absolutely. So let's go to the top of the 6th right now. The Sox now trail 2-1, and a 9 is not going to get it done. Each team still has their starting pitcher in, and a 2 is not going to get it done. So we go to the 7th. Neither team has given up 3 runs, so it's still the starting pitcher, so the Sox are rolling a straight number. 11 in the 7th is 0. The Reds now, bottom of the 7th. And 8 is 0. So now we go to the 8th. So now the relief pitchers come in for each team because each team has given up 1 or 2 runs. So now this is where the Sox have the advantage now. They are rolling a 2 against the relief pitching of the Reds. So adding 2. A 12 and 2 is 14 in the 8th for the Red Sox. A 14, just miss it, nothing. They still trail 2-1. The Reds up, looking to add some insurance runs here, and they are still rolling a -1. 14 is the roll after subtracting the 1 in the 8th. Go to the Reds, and a 14 is good for a run. So the Reds tack on an insurance run. Top of the 9th, do or die for the Red Sox. Adding 2 to the roll, they trail 3-1. A 14 and 2 is 16 in the 9th. 16 is good for 1 run, and the Sox are going to fall short here in game 3 as the Reds take this one 3-2. But it's a far cry from the 14-3 game we had back in Boston. So the series now is 2-1. The Reds are back in it. There's still 2 games at home. So let's set up the game 4 matchups. So yeah, in the chat, I'm just still reading along here. Yeah, there's definitely a couple little things you could do to even get squeeze out a couple more variables in this game with the pregame rolls. I like some of the ideas of hitting the number exact, or maybe rolling a 1 or rolling a 20. I love rolling a 20 on the dice. In this game here, it's the lower number. To start, you want the lower numbers, and then as the game progresses, when you're rolling for your runs, you want the higher numbers, is how this game is set up. So let's start with the Boston offense here. 13 or less, 6. Yeah, so they will be adding 2 to their offense. Now the Reds at home, 13 and 2 is 15 or less. It's a 4. Yes, it is. Oh, I played some D&D back when I was a kid. So I'm a little familiar with it. Again, we didn't know what the heck we were doing, but we did our best, and we had some fun, and so I'm a little familiar with it, although it's been probably 40 years, maybe longer. Sox starting pitching is a 9, so I think, yes, that's less than 12, so they will be -1. So far the Red Sox lineup is looking good. The Reds, oh boy, so they get 10, and 2 is 12. So they do not get it. They will be 0. The relief pitching for the Red Sox is a 15, so no. So they do not get the -1 bonus. They will be 0. The Reds relief pitching is 2, so they're well within that. So they will be -2. So, oh yeah, the 20-sided dice, yeah. That was fun. So let's take a look at the starting pitching here before I continue my D&D talk. So the Red Sox will start with a 2 +2, and then they will go to 0 as a starting pitcher is 0. Relief pitcher is -2, so that is what the Sox look at. And the Reds now 2 -1, so they will be 1. And then when the relief pitcher comes in, they will go to +2. So the Reds have the advantage later on in the game. I remember one time before we get this game started here, as we continue our D&D talk, as we play some hit-and-run baseball, we were playing. We just played with pads of paper. We had a couple of guys and a couple of books, rolled dice. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And I was the dungeon master, and my buddy had all this stuff, like swords and whatever you see. He had a ton of stuff. And he was like being a wicked jerk. And we were kids, 12, 13 years old, 14 tops maybe. And we're playing, and he's like just being this jerk. And I was like, okay, so the gods are mad at you for doing this, and so you're going to take some damage. And I rolled a 20. It was double damage, and he died. He died from the roll because the lightning bolt come from the sky and killed him on a 20. And he started crying. I've had this character a long time. He's not dead. I'm not playing anymore. He took his pen and his notes, he put it in his backpack, and he left the game. He went home. Oh, funny story. Oh, man. I mean, we all made up after. We said, oh, your character got resurrected by this cleric that walked by or something like that. So he was all happy again. But he did. He started crying. He started crying over a 20 roll. And but again, we were probably playing the game so wrong it wasn't even funny. All right, let's kick things off here in Game 4. The Sox looking to take a stranglehold on the series. Here in Cincinnati, they're adding 2 to their roll. Oh, 2 + 1 is still nothing. And another one, back-to-back ones here. And we got a 9 + 2 is 11. If we look here, it's still going to be 0 here for the Sox in the second. A 17 + 1 is 18 for the Reds here in the second. So 18 is good for 2 runs. If I'm reading this correctly, 17 and 1 is 18 in the second column here. Yep, 2 runs. So the Reds go up 2-0 here at home. Sox rolling 14, 16 in the third. 16 is good for a run for the Red Sox in the third. Bottom of the third now, a 2 is nothing. So we got a 2-1 Reds lead here as we go to the fourth. 16 and 2 is 18 for the Red Sox in the fourth. 18 is good for 2 runs, and the Sox take the lead. Bottom of the fourth for the Reds. The 4 is nothing. We go to the fifth here in Game 4 of the 75 World Series. The Sox roll 15 + 2, 17 in the fifth inning. Gets them a run. They tacked on an insurance run here. Bottom of the fifth, it's the Reds. No, starting pitching is shutting it down for the Sox. We go to the sixth. Relief pitcher check, 4-2, so it's still the starting pitchers. I like to check my relief chart. A 16 and 2 is 18 in the sixth for the Red Sox. 2 more runs, and it's now 6-2 Sox here in Cincinnati. Bottom of the sixth. A 2-0. So we go to the seventh. So now 6+ runs in the seventh. So the relief pitcher comes in for the Reds. So now the Red Sox lose that +2 advantage, and they go down to a regular roll, no advantage. So it's just whatever the dice roll is here in the 7th. A 14 in the 7th. 14, no runs for the Sox. We go to the bottom of the 7th, and let's see here. They've scored 2, so they are still going after the starting pitcher because 2 runs would be the 8th. So it's the starting pitcher, so they're still adding 1 to their roll. A 6 and a 7 is nothing. So now we go to the 8th. Now both teams are rolling against the relief pitcher. So the Sox have a straight-up roll of 15 in the 8th, and that is good for a run for the Red Sox. So it's 7-2 here. The Reds adding 2 to their roll, a 19 in the 8th. Wow. 4 runs. That just changed things. So a 17 plus 2 because of the relief pitcher. So the relief pitcher not giving much relief here in the 8th. And it's a 7-6 game. Oh, boy. Crack a knuckle time. Sox now looking for another insurance run here. A 4 is nothing. So the Reds, last chance. Bottom of the 9th. Oh, it's a 15-2. It's a 17 in the bottom of the 9th for Cincinnati. It's only 1 run, though. 15-2 is 17, and in the 9th, it's 1 run, and that ties it up. So now we go to extra innings. I thought they were going to win it. So extra innings now. The Sox with a straight-up roll of 4, nothing. The Reds, nothing. I'm just going to keep going back and forth here until somebody adds a run because I'll run out of space. 14 in extras for the Sox is a run. So the Sox get a run, and I think that would be the 11th inning. The Reds now, a 1, no. And the Sox in extra innings will take this one here, and they have a stranglehold 3-1 lead here in the series. So my other playthrough, we were tied at 2, but this time it's the Red Sox with a chance to clinch it out. They get 3 shots to clinch it out here. Yeah, that one extra innings. I think that went to the 11th, but just because I was running out of space, in case we had 3 or 4 scoreless innings, I didn't want to tie up my my chart here. So, all right, so let's set up Game 5 now with a chance for the Red Sox to win as I have my morning coffee here. Okay, folks, we're back in Cincinnati. We're going to take a roll now for the Red Sox. Their offense is a 12. So, yes, their offense has been good, but they've rolled that every single time, and that is key to get that offense nice and high. The Reds' offense is a 2 as well because of the 10 roll. Starting pitching for the Sox, -1. Starting pitching for the Reds. Oh, boy. Nope. 10-2 is 12. They do not get the starting pitching. The relief pitching for the Sox. Nope. 15 is higher than 12, so the relief pitching is 0. And the Reds will get the relief pitching of -2. So how does our adjusted offense look here? How much is the charts for a season? This game is free off of sportsreplays.net. They don't have, let's see, if I go to their site here, they don't have every season. You can see they have a handful of seasons. I grabbed 67. I think I grabbed 67 and up. I don't really know the other ones there. But you can see all these seasons that they do have available here on his site. He's got a lot of football, though. You can get all the decades here for football. And he's got a little bit of hockey up here as well. And he's got some basketball, too. The basketball looks fun, too. I got to try that as well. So, but it's all free right off of sportsreplays.net. The football, I've played the football here on the channel before, the 2-minute drill. There's no adjustments in that. That's a straight-up offense and defensive role for each team. 4 roles constitute a game. So here in Game 5, the Red Sox with a 2 against the starting pitcher and 0 against the relief pitcher. The Reds with a 1 against the starting pitcher and a 2 against the relief pitcher. So early on, the Sox have the advantage, and later on, it's the Reds. So let's get things kicked off here at the top of the first. 17-2. Red Sox, a 19. Wow, big first inning here. A 19 is good for 3 runs on the road for the Sox. And now at the bottom of the inning here, an 11-1 is 12 in the first inning is nothing. So the Reds on this playthrough not doing well at all. The Sox with a 2, that is nothing here in the second. Bottom of the second, a 7, that is nothing as well. Top of the third now, the Sox with a 3, nope, nothing. The Reds now, 11-1 is 12 in the third. A 12 in the third is still 0. So 3-0 Sox. We go to the fourth. 18-2 is a 20 in the fourth. So that's 4 runs for the Sox. We tack on the 2 adjusted offense, and that is 6 runs in the fourth. And that's where, like I say, if you went the standard offense, it's a 2. The adjusted offense is a 2, but later on it would be a 0. So, yeah, I might need to figure out which chart I use on a 20 roll. But for right now, I'm going to use the adjusted offense. So the Reds in a world of trouble now in the bottom of the fourth, trailing 9-0 at home. Hey, 20 though. A 20 for the Reds in the fourth. That might have saved the series. So they got 3 runs anyway. 4 runs if you include the adjusted offense. And no, that's it. So 4 runs here. That might have saved the series. A 4-run fourth inning for the Reds. So let me just double check that. So I rolled a 20 in the fourth. So that is 3 runs plus the adjusted offensive 1. Not the regular offensive 2. I've been using the adjusted, so I want to keep it consistent. Whether I'm right or wrong, I just want to be consistent. And the Red Sox with a 12 in the fifth. I don't think that's going to be anything. Nope, nothing. Bottom of the fifth, the Reds. Reds with an 11. That should be nothing as well, and it is. So now we go to the sixth. So now, relief pitcher time. 5+ runs. So this benefits the Reds now as they get rid of this +2 offense for the Sox. So the relief pitcher comes in here in the sixth. So it's going to be a straight-up roll for the Sox. And a 2, that won't matter. Trailing 9-4, the Reds. A 7-1 is 8. I did roll again, and it did not come out a second 20 for the Reds. So Boston now in the seventh. A straight-up roll of 13 in the seventh is nothing. Cincinnati, bottom of the seventh, 4 runs. So they are playing the relief pitcher now because there's 3 to 4 runs in the seventh. So they are adding 2 to their roll now. It's another 20 for the Reds. Oh, man. So they get 3. They get 5. It ain't going to matter because I'm adding 2. So they're going to get 5 to tie the game. Wow. Wow. Talking about blowing it, the relief pitcher. Look at the last game. They got 4 runs in the 8th and 1 in the 9th to come back and tie it. Now they get 5 in the 7th to tie it, and they still have the advantage. They're rolling a +2 to the Sox 0. Sox in the 8th. Can they respond? No. The Reds, bottom of the 8th. They had the momentum. Nothing. We go to the top of the 9th. 9-9 our score in Game 5. The Red Sox trying to clinch out the 1975 series here on our hit-and-run baseball replay using Mike Selock baseball quick play game. Top of the 9th. It's a 20! Ooh, wowzers! It's a 20 for the Red Sox. Okay, in the 9th is 4 runs. They can't really do any better than that, even with another 20. And because I'm using the I got to stay consistent. The adjusted offense is 0, so it's just 4. Again, if I research this and it's the regular offensive number, I would add the 2 to that 4. But for right now, to be consistent, I'm going to go with the adjusted offense, which is 0. So the Sox get 4 in the 9th. The Reds, they need a 20, and then they need a 20 would tie it because that would give them 2 plus the 2. Here we go. 13-9. World Series on the line. The Reds need a 20 to tie the game. If they don't get the 20, it's over. It's a 12. 12-2 is 14. That's no runs. And the Red Sox, congratulations to the Boston Red Sox, who have taken the series in 5 games here. That's actually my second replay. Actually, that's my third replay. I did one offline. The Reds actually won the first 2 replays, and the Red Sox here have finally won it. So that will conclude the redo here of my replay here. Mike Selock Hit and Run Baseball played the 1975 World Series. Again, you can find this game over here at sportsreplays.net on the Downloads 3 page. Look for the Mike Selock games here. They're really fun. The football game I love. I'm in the middle of the 1983 football season replay. I think I'm at week 3 right now. That is really fun. Hit and Run Baseball is fun. And I haven't tried the hockey game yet. The hockey game's kind of funky. You got to use 10-sided dies in that one. That's kind of weird. And they also got a basketball game that I haven't tried yet. I wish they had some more seasons because these games are so fun. They really are. So anyway, Jester called the Sox in 5, and he did. He was correct on this one. This is kind of how this one went. So game 1, 9-4 Red Sox. Game 2 in Boston, 14-3 Red Sox. The Reds took game 3, 3-2. To keep the series alive. Boston in extra innings in game 4, won an 8-7, and then here a convincing 13-9 win in game 5. 4 runs in the 9th for the Sox as they finally started rolling some 20s here. So thanks everybody that tuned in early here on Wednesday morning. I just did a quick redo of this. I tried to fix my audio. My audio was bad yesterday. I made a couple of rolling mistakes, I think, today. Hopefully I got everything just about right today as we showed off this game. So I will talk to everybody later. Thanks for Al and ID stopping in the chat room. I will check out that email and download that D&D file as we're looking to play some Dungeons & Dragons on the ID Jester channel. So definitely head over to his channel and check it out as we're using the new StreamYard service for some of our hangouts and some of our game playing coming up in the future. And check out Al Red Sox Fan as well. If you like watching football teams collapse late in the game, you definitely need to check out Al Red Sox channel. So anyway, so I'm Dave. Thanks for tuning in. I got to go to work and get myself another coffee, and I'll tune in later. Thank you so much. And I think I hit 300 subscribers. I think last night somebody subscribed and I got 300. All excited about that. I'm now part of the 300 club. So now I'm part of the Spartans, right? That was 300. Bad joke. Anyway, so talk to everybody later. Thank you so much. I hope you liked this video, and I'm really enjoying showing off some of these quick play games. I hate to call them smaller games. That's not fair to call them smaller games, but they're quick play games. They're PDFs, spreadsheets, they're downloads. They're really, really fun to play, and there's just not a lot of videos on them out there. So I think showing these off gives these games their due, so to speak. So we'll talk to everybody later. Bye-bye.